What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Sheehan Show with me, Sean Sheehan, here on Sherdog.com, and I am here after the PFL 7 2025 card, which went down on June 27, 2025 in the Wintrust Arena in Chicago, Illinois, and it was a pretty eventful card. It was. Do you know what? It was a card. It wasn't a classic card by any means, but it was. It's a one maybe you won't forget for a while. There's a lot of different things happened. Do you know this is the first card from the PFL this year where it was clear that everyone was like, right, I need to just get over the line here. Which you're always going to have one or two of those cards a year when you have a tournament format, and when the the semi-finals in any sports are always the I need to hang on, I need to get over the line, I need to just win at all costs. And this is that's the kind of card I think we had here. But by no means a bad card or anything like that, but a one that was, when you sat through it, it was like there's a lot of close fights here. There's a lot of a lot of things you mightn't see in other fights. Let's put it that way. A lot of tough stuff, a lot of real hard-nosed type of MMA, which you have to respect as well at this stage of some people's careers, at this stage of the year in terms of the season. Those are the type of fights we need to see. So no harm in it at all. And it was it was a long evening, but you know what? At the end of it, we're left with some good fights to look forward to. And we had some good fights tonight, so let's get to it. Before we get to the fights, we usually have a little talk about differences maybe between this card or this year and past. Well, the big difference here was Chris Voster's, I believe his name was on commentary for the undercard instead of Sean O'Connell, because next week there's two cards on. I don't think they're on the same day, but they're not. They're less than 24 hours apart, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, so one's on in Belgium and the other is on in South Africa, I think, isn't that correct? So Sean O'Connell couldn't do both of them, so they need someone else. I'll be honest, I thought Chris Foster did very, very well. I'd never heard him before. I'm sure he's done some other sort of commentary and stuff. I haven't looked into him or looked him up or anything, but yeah, I'll be honest, I didn't. For the first fight, I was like, oh, this guy is good. And then for the rest, I don't know. I don't know if he sounds a bit like Sean O'Connell to my Irish ears or something, but I didn't really notice it. And he did. There was a couple of things, like the wording was a bit odd from an MMA point of view. I don't know how much of an MMA guy this Chris Foster is, but a couple of things, But all in all, as someone who can be a touch picky about their commentary, I think he did a great job. And Dan Hardy always does an amazing job, and I like Randy Couture as well. I think what Randy brings he brings a lot of positivity and a bit of levity to this as well. He's very positive. He's always laughing and smiling and that. Do you know what? I think that's good when it doesn't go too far. When the laugh doesn't turn into 45 seconds of a stand-up routine, like we see in some other promotions. So, yeah, all in all, the commentary, again, very, very good. And I tend to always find it very, very good. So, great stuff there. Right, let's get to the fights. And the main event, I'll be honest, I usually when I'm doing this show, I go through it like almost punch by punch. And I will do that for the other fights. But this main event, I think, because it took so much of a rhythm, I think it'd be wrong to almost go through it that way. And to me, the rhythm was effectiveness. I thought the first round, Joshua Silveira, everything he did was relatively more effective than Fabian Edwards, or a lot of what he did was more. Like some of the shots he was landing, a couple of left hands over the top, there was some good stuff there out of Silveira. Both were kind of landing leg kicks early in the fight. Even there was one stage where the referee kind of warned Edwards not to put his fingers in the glove. And it kind of kept Silveira in the clinch where he'd want to be, or going for a takedown. It was kind of I felt like it was all kind of going for him in the first round. He was when Edwards was getting to a good position, he kind of reversed the position, and that's on the ground. But with the striking, you wouldn't have expected Silveira maybe to do as well as he did, but he did in that first round. In the second round, I think it started to turn around. Edwards started landing nice elbows, and even when Silveira got him to the cage and he was looking for a takedown, Edwards ended up hurting him with a knee to the body. And he was the one kind of getting on top of Silveira and looking for the back. And, late in the round, Silveira was kind of the one defending. And by the third round happened then, and there was that big knee late as well in the second round. And by the third round, I just thought Edwards had landed everything a little bit better, Edwards had Silveira down as well, landing some big elbows towards the end of the round. But before that, I thought his shots were the quicker. His left hands now were the ones that were getting on target. He was the guy who was looking smooth in there. And there's at one stage, it was Leon in the corner. I was thinking he landed maybe 3 or 4 or 5 shots in a row. And Leon was kind of saying, up the pace, go for it, which I think is very good cornering for Fabian Edwards. And I've said this before. Fabian sometimes fights too much like Leon, but Fabian needs to fight like Fabian. And this is an odd fight to put that into practice. I thought he fought well here and he came more into the fight. And maybe you would have thought Fabian against someone like Silveira who can wrestle well might have struggled later the fight went, although Fabian has good cardio and he's never really struggled with that before. But that possibility didn't turn out to be the case whatsoever, and it was Fabian Edwards is the one who was getting stronger towards the end of the fight, and came out on top and ended up winning the decision in the end. It was I believe, if I'm not mistaken, just checking here, it was 29-28 on all 3 judges scorecards, which is the correct way to do it. And now you have to say for Fabian, I spoke about this in the previous show, whoever won this fight was going to be a coming of age for one of them, because they've both been one step towards the coming of the age, let's put it that way. They've both been kind of here before, one step away, and they've both been so close. Silveira's been in the semifinals and in the finale has ended up losing. Fabian Edwards obviously has been in Bellator title fights, has ended up losing. So now they go to the finale, or Fabian does anyway, after they both obviously had the chance to get there now. And then, the next level can be reached. So a big win for Fabian Edwards in his career. A guy that I've obviously covered for a very, very long time, but has so much talent. He's one of those guys as well, I think, because of his brother and because sometimes he just does not produce at the times. It's, people write him off and go, he's no good, or he'll never be as good as Leon or whatever. But if Fabian Edwards can put it all together, and if he is at his best, he is a really, really, really good fighter, and one of the top middleweights in the world. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And he showed bits and pieces of it here. Josh Silveira, a guy who's coming down from the weight class above as well, a big guy who is much improved. I remember talking to Impa Kasanganay about him last year, and Impa said, straight out that when because they were rematching, he said he has much improved since our first fight. We were another year down the line, he's even improved again. So I think Joshua Silveira will probably be back. Whether that's in the PFL tournament or not, who knows now. Maybe a move for him would be the best thing, whether it's to another promotion or whether it's to the Champion Series where he's fighting maybe outside of the tournament. But I wouldn't at all be sad if I saw him in the tournament again next year. So look, we look forward to that. We'll see how it goes. But for now, Fabian Edwards, to the victor goes the spoils, and he is the victor this Friday night. Right. We'll go fight by fight here. So the next fight down was that was the middleweight division. The next fight down was in the 205-pound light heavyweight division, and it was Sullivan Cawley against Phil Davis. Again, this was a fight, I think they kind of took a relatively similar path, where the first round was close, and then one of the guys he came into his own, and by the time the third round came, he was the better fighter. So, Sullivan was pushing the pace early, landed a lovely jab to the body. Davis was countering. He landed a lovely kick to the body to Davis as well. But then Sullivan landed a nice left hook and a jab. And it was funny, he started off by pushing the pace, and maybe a minute and a half later, Cawley was on his bike because Davis did a good job of landing shots, landing kicks to the body a couple of times. Cawley bound in, and Phil got into the clinch with him and threw him down on the ground, got back up, threw him down again. And, Davis was doing really well at this stage in the first round, and even though Cawley got taken down twice, he did get up twice. So, he kind of bashed him with a right hand. Really good shin on Davis towards the end of that. Close round. I think that big right hand late could have swung it, but the thing is, it was hard to decipher how much it troubled Davis, and I think the judges were kind of splitting that as well. But because of the unknown, I probably would have just leaned Davis, but it was one of those ones where I could absolutely see a judge, if he was right behind it and saw a better impact on it live, could score it the other way. So a very close round. The second round in, Sullivan started off with a great jab, and then they both exchanged jabs, and the Cawley's head movement was so good in this round. Like, I actually think it kind of put Phil Davis off a little bit, and then he started kicking more to the body. Maybe that's, thinking back on it now, maybe that's why he was kicking a lot to the body in round one as well. But Cawley, I thought, was a little bit more tentative in round two in terms of the strikes early, and then he was bleeding from the face. Phil got a big takedown, a big slam takedown, and then he almost took the back as he stood back up, and then he landed some knees in the clinch. A knee cut Sullivan really, really bad. Both eyes were cut at this stage, and Sullivan then landed a head kick, and this was an odd one as well. Dan Hardy saw it, and he's like, "Oh, he's hurt," but I was like, "Is he hurt?" It's kind of hard to see. But then straight away, Cawley landed a big right hand and dropped Phil Davis hard. So Phil went for a takedown late in the round, again to show he'd kind of recovered, but I think he was knocked down so hard by that right hand, it made the head kick earlier, almost affirmed that it was a pretty bad head kick, plus the right hand after it. I thought Davis was ahead at that stage before those two shots, but taking those two big shots, even though he recovered really quickly and even though he was going for a takedown, you have to score that for Cawley, because there was nothing else like that for Davis in that round. And in the third, Davis came out looking good. He landed a body kick again, but I thought it actually hurt Cawley, but there was no reaction out of him at all. He kind of dropped the arms down a little bit, but I think he did it nonchalantly enough that the judges are not going to score it against him. But he got back onto his jab. He was checked by the doctor between rounds because of those cuts, Cawley, and then he was attacking more because of that. They were kind of fighting hard in the middle. Davis went for a takedown attempt and got it midway, but they got up pretty quickly. They were both landing hard in the exchanges. Look, the thing about this, and if you're going through this third round, what's the decisive factor in this? I thought Cawley looked way fresher. Both landed some good shots in the exchange, but then Cawley landed a big elbow after a Davis takedown attempt, and I think that's the sort of shot that will take the round and give it to you. So I thought Cawley won that round because of that shot, because he looked so much fresh. Well, not so much is a bit harsh, but he looked a lot fresher in kind of minutes 3 to 5, let's put it that way. And he went out and he won that round. And Cawley in the end ended up winning the unanimous decision, and he moves on to the light heavyweight finale. We will talk about his opponent in a second. The next fight that happened was Sergio Pettis against Rafian Stotts. This was outside of the tournament bouts, but again, this was, I would say, all the other fights, you could see the jeopardy involved. Like the Cawley Davis fight, well, it wasn't by any means a classic fight, but Jesus, it was a tough battle the whole way through, and both of them were really trying, they were really, really trying to win it, and it was, not a great fight, but a great battle. Stotts against Pettis was anything but. It was like a sparring match it was a poor fight, really. Do you know what? It looked like two lads who were kind of very ring rusty as well, and knew each other so well. It just, to me, it just disappointed. So Stotts started out as a southpaw. Sergio was switching, but Stotts was pushing the pace. Nothing landed inside of 2 minutes. It was like all defense on top. Sergio landed a back kick to the body, which was the first shot that landed. Around 2.5 minutes, around the midway point of the round, both landed some jabs, but it just felt like they knew each other too well. I wrote in my notes here at this stage, and Stotts' jab was good, and Stotts got an easy double leg towards the end of the round, landed a few shots on top, nothing major, but I thought it was nearly enough to win him the round. I'm as people know, I'm not the 1% late takedown wins the round, but he landed 5 or 6 shots on top. Again, nothing major, but might have been enough, to be honest. So I thought Stotts won that first. Sergio's jab was the first shot of the second, and a nice spinning forearm as well. Then Stotts dropped him with a left hook, but it seemed like a bit of a stumble, so hard to know. But then Stotts was on top in guard, then got into half guard, but he was doing very little on top. There was a real fight for position at one side. Stotts was trying to get into the mount from like a far side position to get over, but he didn't manage to get it. But because that went on for so long, the referee wasn't going to stand him up. So he ended up basically spinning the whole round on top. Did land a nice short elbow late. Stotts definitely won the round. So there was no trouble there. But yeah, a very uneventful round. There was a low blow, not the first low blow of the night. We'll get to that to start it, and then there was a lead hand battle. Sergio was landing a couple of nice right hands, probably the best of the fight at this stage, and then Stotts landed a couple of lefts, and then a lovely straight left down the middle as well. And the third round was a bit better. Both landed a few leads. Sergio's counter right hand landed, but the high kick was just off. Stotts went for an ankle pick again. He wasn't able to get it, and then Sergio Pettis landed a right hand, which was undoubtedly his best shot of the fight, right in the middle. He went for a heel, kicked in, and it kind of half landed. Landed a few shots with the hands again. Stotts got a takedown with 40 seconds left, but didn't do anything on top. So the third round was without a shadow of a doubt a Sergio Pettis round. So the second, definitely Stotts. Third, definitely Pettis. I thought Stotts won the first, but I can absolutely see how a judge would give Pettis the first. And they did give Pettis the first. All three judges had a 29-28, if I'm not mistaken, maybe. And Sergio Pettis ended up winning the decision. And if you listen to the betting show, I gave it to you. Even though I thought Stotts actually won the fight, I'm not at all surprised, obviously, that Phil Davis won it. That Sergio Pettis won it. So fair play to him. Not a classic, though. A fight between two ex-teammates, that probably won't be seen again. Let's put it that way. Then we had Dalton Rasta against Aaron Jeffrey, talking about lads who know each other very well. Obviously, this was a rematch, and I said last weekend the rematch can't be as bad as the first matchup, and it definitely wasn't. But again, this wasn't by any means a classic, but a tough battle. A semi-final. This was a real semi-final. So, Jeffrey was pushing the pace early. Rasta going for a lot of feints, kind of both jabbing, and Rasta shucked off a clinch, and it was a real good start, I thought, for Rasta. That he was countering well. Jeffrey tried another clinch, but just eased off, and Rasta landed a lovely uppercut. And you're thinking, okay, all the issues in the first fight are kind of gone here. Jeffrey didn't got into a clinch, but Rasta landed a huge elbow, a left hook. After that, Jeffrey looked okay, got another clinch, landed a knee to the body. Ross's striking was varied on the break, landed some nice body work, but then Jeffrey kind of stunned him with a right hand. I thought he was hurt, but again, hard to see. Ross's round without a shadow of a doubt, unless that right hand again looks worse. I'll allow the judges gate side to have a better view than me, but I thought Rasta was the winner of that round. Up until that point, that could have changed it, but I still would lean Rasta. Rasta landed a hard leg kick to start the second, but then Jeffrey kind of dives in on a double, no good. Went to a clinch, a break, both landed some jabs. Jeffrey was... I don't know how far in it was, maybe 90 seconds in, and I just wrote in my notes, he's taken over the pace here, and he really did. Like, shots looked like they were hurting Rasta now. You know, Rasta kind of pulled him into a clinch at one stage to get a bit of a break from the pace. Jeffrey landed an elbow, and Rasta was landing a few too, make no mistake about it, but, you know, the right hands from Jeffrey were really good. Rasta failed on a takedown, got back into the clinch, and, you know, Jeffrey was making it tough on him, just landing little small shots and little downward elbows from the clinch and stuff. And I thought that was a Jeffrey round. Again, very, very close, but I thought that was a Jeffrey round. And in the third round, Rasta was backing him up. Rasta landed a body kick, but Jeffrey landed some kicks to the leg as well, and he was landing plenty. Got into a clinch. Both kind of landed knees in that clinch. Jeffrey, just a stronger pace, was thrown in close, landed in the clinch. And I just wrote in my notes here, Jeffrey has his number. I was like, he's taken over this fight, landed a few knees in the clinch. Rasta goes attacking late, but Jeffrey just kind of stares him down, walks him down. Like, the last 30 seconds of that fight, if you didn't know who the winner was, you'd know who the winner was by watching that, because I thought Jeffrey kind of just alphaed him a bit. I was kind of like, oh right, he's gonna win the decision here, but he didn't. Dalton Ross ended up winning the split decision, which I'm not often shocked by decisions these days at mixed martial arts, but I kind of was by this one. I thought, I thought Jeffrey won the third, definitely. I thought he won the second. Again, that was close. I thought Rasta won the first, but it could have gone to Jeffrey. You know, again, not a robbery by any means, but do I think the better fighter won on the night? I don't. No, even though I had Rasta as one of my bets of the week and everything like that, I don't. But he does win, and Dalton Rasta goes on to meet Fabian Edwards in the finale. And to be honest, I think that was probably the one I predicted. A lot of people probably predicted that would be the finale, and indeed it is. But who will be the person to meet Sullivan Cauley in the light heavyweight finale? That was found out by Antonio Carlos Jr. against Sim Powell. I'm going to start calling him Sim now, because Simeon, I always get it wrong. But Shoefest fought so well in this fight. You know, Powell was on his bike early. Shoefest struggled to cut off the cage for maybe about 30 seconds, and he adjusted, landed a lovely leg kick, landed two right hands, and then got into the clinch. He lands a knee, but can't really do much else. You know, Powell landed a jab, but there was three nice lands from Shoefest right after that. Landed a high knee after a takedown fail as well. A lovely shot jumping into the clinch. Paul was just jabbing, and it just wasn't enough, to be honest. It was like, you know, I talk sometimes about Fabian Edwards, just not letting your hands go enough, or not you know, thinking you're kind of winning the fight and not going to win it. You know, Paul was getting going in the last couple of minutes, but Shoefest landed two more late right hands, and he definitely won that round in my opinion. He started off the second round with a lovely 1-2 and then a leg kick. Shoefest then took him down the single leg and jumped on the back as Paul was getting up. He dragged him back down, but Paul kind of stood to the clinch. Shoefest kind of held on for ages before they broke, and Paul did land a right hand. He landed a second, but Shoefest answered back, and that was kind of a theme of this fight. Whenever Paul would get something going, Shoefest would always kind of land something back. And, you know, Paul was jabbing and just single shots for a lot of this, whereas you saw so many different things. You saw some check left hooks from Shoefest, which were a lovely shot throughout it, but he was countering with other stuff as well off of both sides, win for a takedown, but that was defended. Then there was kind of a long clinch, and Paul kind of attacked late, but not enough. And I thought Shoefest was 2 rounds up at this stage. The third round, though, I did give to Paul. You know, Shoefest was walking him down, and Simeon landed a hard jab and then a hard 1-2, and he was throwing his shots better at this stage. You know, Shoefest went for a single leg, defended well, but Paul hurt him with a right hand. You know, Paul landed some leg kicks, both landed right hands at the same time. Shoefest just kind of took it better though, I thought, and then he went for the clinch. Wild exchanges on the break, and Shoeface falls to his back, and Powell followed him down, and landed some big ground and pound, and it was odd to see someone follow Shoeface down to the ground, but that he did, landed some big ground and pound as the fight ended. I scored a 29-28 for Shoeface, and he indeed did win the unanimous decision. So he will be meeting Sullivan Colley in the finale. Again, young versus old here, kind of, and a very interesting fight there. A tough one to call, to be honest, because Sullivan Colley has looked so good, looked good again in that Davis fight, so we'll obviously talk more about that when the fight comes. Then we hit the craziness in the heavyweight division. Valentin Moldavsky against Alexander Romanov. So we go step by step. Alex came out as a southpaw. Just a lot of hand fighting because of the southpaw versus orthodox thing early. Both through 1-2s. You know, Alex got the clinch, and then he got a big body lock taken. He looks so much bigger than Moldavsky in there. Was on top, got the half guard. He tried the Americana, but he couldn't get it. He took the back, but he had no hooks in, so Moldavsky was able to get up to the clinch. But Romanov got a mat return, got up, they broke. Valentin he's back at a massive scratch from the cage. It looked so sore. But then he landed a huge left hook. Then Moldavsky, Romanov looked hurt. There was a mad exchange in the middle where both were thrown. I thought Moldavsky looked hurt at one stage. Romanov definitely took a shot or two. And then there was Romanov clinched, and there was a real big knee to the testicles, let's put it that way, from Moldavsky, and Romanov immediately went down, and he was doubled over in pain on the ground. And this was one of those ones straight away where I was like, here lads, forget about this fight, just get this man to hospital, because, you know, when about 10-15 seconds later, the referee called the doctor in, and then he was like, I need to call him in to see if he had a ruptured testicle, which is never a good phrase to hear, I'll be honest. And I'd love to get an update and see how he is, but it looked really, really, really bad. Like, he said he couldn't straighten his leg, or he was in real pain. So this fight had to be called off, and indeed it was. And in that case, I reached out to PFL for rules before, and I had written down about the draw, but the no contest, I updated it if you want to check my tweet. Basically what happened here is what happens. They go to the judges. The judges decide who goes through. Now, on the record on Sherdog here, it's going to say it's a no contest, but with the PFL, because it's straight knockout, they need someone to go through. Romanov will be the guy going through. Now, will he be able to go through with this injury? We will have to wait and see, but the judges said that. This is by the commission have to sign off on this too, so I assume they did. If the commission didn't sign off on it, it would be a coin toss. There you go. In the first round. If it happened in the second round, they'd score the first round. If it happened in the third round, they'd score the first and second, etc. But anyway, Romanov wasn't able to continue, but he does advance because the judges said he won the, 4.5 minutes? Let me just check here. 4 minutes 46 seconds of the first round. So there you go. Then we had a massive shock as Ronnie Gibbs beat Biagio Ali Walsh. But the first round, I thought it was a 10-8 round, and there was no 10-8 round in it. I looked up the scores, but Walsh, Gibbs actually started well. He landed a side kick, and then he kind of went for a takedown and missed it. But Ali Walsh was landing a few right hands, or really hard. Gibbs was knocked down like multiple times. There was a hard right hand in the middle of it there, and he was, Ali Walsh was countering so well as well. And then Ali got him down, almost took the back, lands hard in the clinch. Gibbs lands a head kick on his way out, but it wasn't massive, And then Ali Walsh landed a huge combo. Gibbs did take him down, but he got up very quick, and then both landed in the exchange. Gibbs looked hurt and pulled guard towards the end of the first round. Heavy ground and pound from Ali Walsh, and Gibbs survived. I thought it was a definite 10-8, but again, none of the judges gave it that way. The second round, though, it all changed. Gibbs came out and landed a wheel kick in the off, but it was a lovely 2-3 from Ali Walsh with the backhand, and the hook came after it. Landing loads of shots here, but Gibbs landed a left hook, and I think that left hook kind of changed things because he went for a takedown after that, and Ali Walsh was kind of open to it, got the half guard, good shots and hops from Gibbs, landed lovely elbows. The referee warned him he was going to stop it, but the fight got further to the ground. Gibbs saw the arm triangle, went over, hopped to the right side, and ended up getting the tap at 2:45 of round number 2 to beat Biagio Ali Walsh for the first time in his career, the grandson of Muhammad Ali. So a big shock there, but Ronnie Gibbs I wouldn't mind seeing the rematch if they want to do it. Let's do it. But good stuff there. And then we had the other heavyweight semi-final where Oleg Popov ended up winning the unanimous decision against Rodrigo Nascimento. Pretty straightforward here. Like Oleg started off really fast, landed some leg kicks and combos. Nascimento landed an uppercut, but Oleg got a double leg takedown. He was landing shots against the cage as they were kind of both on their knees, getting up for it for a good while there, landing those shots up under the arm, like Dan Henderson, Fedor, who, funnily enough, his coach. He had the ankle of Rodrigo locked, so he couldn't really get up. So good stuff there. Rodrigo did eventually stand up, but there was shots in the clinch from Oleg. Not as big, but still enough. And then he got a couple of mat returns. So clearly a Popov first round. The second round, very little happened, to be honest. Both landed a shot early. Popov went for a single leg, got to the half guard. Rodrigo moved to the cage, but he was still on top, and half guard was Popov. Then he got into the guard. Landed a few shots, not insignificant. Rodrigo stood up, a bit of a clinch. The underhooks kept Nascimento up against the cage, and then the ref broke it. Oleg was off on a takedown, moved to the clinch. Again, stopped by Nascimento from the takedown, but no offense. Very little happened. It was a clear Popov round again, no doubt about it, but very little happened. And again, the third round, a clear Popov round, landed a 1-2 to start. Then a right hand rocked him bad that Popov landed. There was a clinch, he broke, and he landed in some nice dirty boxing. But then he clinched again when it looked like the fight was about to be stopped. Which, look, when you're 2 rounds up in a semi-final, I suppose it's your prerogative to do that, but I think he could have got the finish there. Oleg stepped back and landed a good right hand, but clinched again. Big elbow from Oleg, break. Went for a second takedown, tried kind of the midpoint, but didn't get it. For the last 90 seconds, though, it turned into a good fight. They went shot for shot. Both were tired, but didn't look too bad. Neither were hurt too bad, but they landed some good stuff in that last 90 seconds. I don't think either man got a massive advantage there, so that's a Popov round. To me, he won 30-27, and indeed he did win the unanimous decision in the end. The first fight of the night was the quickest fight of the night between Karl Albrechtsson and Rafael Xavier. In fact, it only landed 27 seconds on the 27th of June. Happy birthday, Cara. Karl landed a left hook, and the next time he goes to throw it, Rafael drops him with a hard jab. Rafael landed a right hand to the back of the ear after that. Karl goes for a takedown, but Rafael just hammer fists him and finishes him. Lovely shot. That hard jab started it all off. The right hand, lovely placed right behind the ear, and then the hammer fist as well from Xavier. He puts himself right in line now. Obviously, if someone was to fall out or anything like that, he's right there or thereabouts. So great performance from him there, and that is that. So in the finale of the 3-weight classes we saw here, we'll have Oleg Popov against Alexander Romanov, if he can find his way there after that horrible injury. Then we'll have Antonio Carlos Jr. against Sullivan Cauley, and we'll have Dalton Rosta in the middleweight division against Fabian Edwards. Obviously, the other division was light heavyweight, but also good wins for Sergio Pettis, for the young guy Ronnie Gibbs, and the guy we just mentioned, Rafael Xavier, as well, in short order. All right, that is it from me. It's only 7 a.m. here, sure, why not? Thank you to everybody for tuning in. If you appreciate this video, give it a like, give it a thumbs up. That'd be great. Leave a comment in the comment section, and if you could subscribe, it's free. Subscribe to this huge channel. It'd be absolutely brilliant. Thank you very much for tuning in. My name is Sheehan for Sherdog.com, and I'll see you all next time.